Welcome to the Mind of Adolf Hitler, in which we discuss and psychoanalyze Hitler and the evil human being that he was.
Disclaimer, we are not trained in psychology, nor are we claiming that these facts are definitely what caused Hitler to be the way he is. We are just discussing facts and theories discovered by historians and doctors. Well, childhood trauma does affect a lot psychologically in a child's mind. Scientifically, many neurons do not form correctly in the brain, and the psychological trauma affects anyone's actions if they were abused as a child.
Interesting. I think I can add to that thought with some information about his experiences in the First World War. In 1908, Hitler failed to register for military service in Austria, and to avoid the police, he changed his address quite frequently. He didn't join the Austrian army as he saw the Austro-Hungarian Empire as un-German. While living in Vienna, his anger grew as many different ethnic groups were found in Austria's capital, and his hatred of Jews was nurtured. In 1914, he joined the Royal Bavarian Army and served as a royal runner, which meant he wasn't at the front line and, opposed to what the Nazis' propaganda said, not in life-threatening danger.
This is indeed correct. We could also say that his time within the war had affected him in the way of seeing violence as a normal thing to not be affected by.
Well, let's see what trained psychologists and doctors say about Hitler's mental state. Was he insane?
While his childhood trauma, war trauma, and time in war are points that led to him being mentally ill, there are no proper studies that say he definitely had a mental illness, and there probably never will be, because Hitler was known to over-exaggerate and make up symptoms as well as hide information about himself.
Yes, according to the German doctor Hans-Joachim Neumann, psychologists couldn't find any evidence showing that the Führer was mentally ill, and he therefore was healthy and accountable for his actions.
That would add up to all the uncertainties that historians and doctors have. However, some doctors would guess that he was paranoid due to his noted paranoia in his biography, and there is suspected schizophrenia. However, Hitler never mentioned hallucinations. Also, he shows many signs towards having PTSD. On top of all of that, Hitler had extreme anger issues that had been heavily documented. But the big question many people always have is how an anti-Semite full of anger management issues with a twisted ideology of genocide and racial segregation was voted to become Germany's new leader.
Especially because he published his ideology and goals back in 1925 in his book Mein Kampf, right? One of the most important tools that helped Hitler and the Nazis with their gain of power was manipulation. The most used instrument for that was propaganda. He established the Hitler Youth, a youth group created to make young people believe in the Nazis' ideology and encouraged real German children to later join them.
Corruption of the youth? Strategical. How else would they affect the older generations?
The Nazi regime controlled the press, art, and media with a tight fist, and therefore had a great way and advantage to get the people to believe their ideology. Additionally, Hitler and Goebbels, Minister of Propaganda, used people's fears and concerns, especially regarding the economy and the relatively new and unstable republic, to get people to believe in their ideals, as they promised great achievements like low unemployment rates or more control over the governmental power. In the Nazis' propaganda, Hitler was presented as a man with great vision for prosperity and stability.
You know what I'm wondering? Where did the anti-Semitism even originate?
Good question! Jews were discriminated against since the 4th century and continuously faced hate, which still exists today. In the 1450s, it became a Catholic duty to hunt them down, to keep the blood clean. Sound familiar? The hatred for Jews arose as Catholics didn't know much about them, and their fear began to rise. They repeatedly accused them of crimes they didn't commit, like the plague, or stealing money, as Jews often worked in the financial business. Anti-Semitism then got its name in 1879 when it was scientifically proven.
This information ties into anti-Semitism actions today. This includes the deadly August 25, 2017 Charlottesville anti-Semitism rally and the October 27, 2018 Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. CNN did a poll to show how much anti-Semitism was present in Europe. It was shown that there was over 1,000 instances of anti-Semitism in Europe witnessed or heard of by people after the Pittsburgh shooting. These studies were taken from European countries including Austria, France, Germany, Great Britain, Hungary, Poland, and Sweden.
That's terrible. Isn't the government doing anything against it?
Well, Congress created a bill in 2018 to allow police to use anti-Semitism as a reason to arrest people. However, despite these progressive actions, there is still a third of people interviewed who believe that the Jewish people as a whole made up the Holocaust.
So, what can we conclude?
While his childhood and time in the First World War could have influenced him to become the way he was, there is no evidence that proves with 100% certainty that those factors changed him. As well, historians did not have enough evidence to prove Hitler had any mental disorder. Hitler himself, as a whole, is full of uncertainty, and everyone knows, during his rule he had done numerous unjustifiable actions that unfortunately influence neo-Nazis today.
That about sums it up.
Get out of my room!